And welcome everybody to the Huddle. I'm KGUN9's Jason Barr, joined by Pat Parris. It's our weekly streaming sports talk show. We join you every week at Tuesday at 3 o'clock from the KGUN9 studios. Pat, I'm right now upstairs in a studio where it is so cold right now. Okay, Pat was like, "Why are you wearing a jacket? If you only knew." Okay, how are you today, Pat?
I'm well. I'm literally, what am I, 20 feet away from you
You're in a
across the
completely
hallway?
different climate. I just
And it's
walked
like
in there.
you said, I'm in the Bahamas and you are in
That's
Anchorage,
what our
Alaska.
engineer said, who was looking at the thermostat. Anyway, hey, what a great win for University of Arizona
Oh, my
football.
goodness.
You know, I mean, shocking, surprising, good things happen. I mean, here's a team that had lost the previous 4 games. The defense couldn't stop anybody. They're going to 12th ranked UCLA. It looks like it's going to be a 5-game losing streak. And Pat, they came out with a little extra pop in their step in that game, especially that guy there, Michael Wiley. He was really on another level. And this was the best win for the program in quite some time. Maybe early 2019, if not before then. Fantastic win for U of A football. And Pat, it really sets up the next 2 weeks here because now they have a lot more to play for.
Yeah, they do. And we can get more into that in a minute, but I'll give you my initial thoughts. And my initial thoughts as the game started to unfold, and I'm talking back in the first quarter of this game at UCLA. Jason, the defense was hitting hard. Like there was an extra amount of force with every single hit. It's like we saw a defense that decided that this is how you have to play in order to compete. You gotta punch the big dog in the mouth every once in a while to let them know that this is a game. And UCLA kind of sleepwalked into this game.
They came out flat.
Maybe they were overlooking. Maybe they weren't ready. They certainly weren't ready for the physicality that Arizona's defense put on them early on, and that carried all the way through the game. It kept them out of rhythm offensively. And then for the Arizona offense, boy, to get those first 2 drives, touchdown, it was, set up just perfectly. I couldn't have been more excited. There's besides the school up north, it's just up I-10 from us here. There's no team that I rather beat in the Pac-12 than UCLA. And that was so much fun Saturday night into early Sunday morning.
Yeah. So let's talk about where that goes from here, because now, at the beginning of the season, I was saying 5-7. I hope I'm wrong by a win or two. And it looked like they would just be playing for pride these final 2 weeks. Now you set up a situation here where you come home for Washington State and ASU, and you've got a chance to play for a bowl game with multiple storylines. One of them being this week, Jayden de Laura, who is really fired up to go up against his old school. For those who don't know the full story, and there's actually some more to it today from the U of A news conference. Jayden de Laura was Washington State's quarterback last year. The coach gets fired because he doesn't want to take the COVID vaccine. New coaching staff comes in, and the new coaching and during the Sun Bowl, de Laura went to the locker room with an injured ankle, I believe, and didn't come out for the second half. Something happened there. They brought in a new coach who brought in their own quarterback, Cameron Ward, and so he didn't come in to not play, so that's why de Laura went to U of A and transferred there. So he is extra fired up for this game here on Saturday.
Yeah, and you have a lot.
And by the way, Pat, de Laura said today that he was having X-rays, and that's why he didn't come out for the third quarter.
Okay, that explains it then. But yeah, it was a definite situation where he knew that it was a better opportunity for him to come play for Jedd Fisch, and for all intents and purposes, it was guaranteed he was going to be the starter at the U of A, and he wasn't guaranteed anything at Washington State. So you understand why he made the move. It's worked out great for the University of Arizona. There's plenty to play for here, Jason, over the next 2 weeks. But first things first, you've got to take care of business against Washington State. And for Jayden de Laura, that means sometimes maybe just taking it back a step and remember, yes, you have added incentive. You have so much to play for, but really it's no different than when you went into UCLA last week. It's got to be that same mentality, and you've got to try to execute and be close to perfection. Jason, that was about as perfect of a game on both sides of the football as Arizona as you can expect them to play with the talent level that they're at right now. Offensively, they're certainly ahead of defense, but even defensively, we saw a lot of freshmen get playing time.
Jacob Banu.
And we saw that then translate into having some fresher defensive linemen at the end when they really needed them. I think that they finally figured out a good combination of substitutions and guys who get more playing time and guys have earned more playing time, and it's paying off.
Yeah. It looked like they were very upset the way they played the previous week with all the fumbles, and they wanted to come out and do a whole lot better for sure. Uh, and,
Speaking of that, real quick, Jaden DeLaura still fumbling the ball a few times. There's just something about him. Cold weather, maybe it was chilly in Pasadena. I want him to tuck the ball away a little bit more when he has to take off. That's all. He's been fumbling a lot lately. Fortunately, they've been jumping on him as well, but you can't keep doing that.
That's where he can do better because, as you said, he doesn't have to execute any better. And if he's too pumped up and fired up, his passes will be inaccurate. So on Saturday after the game, he was still fired up, and they asked DeLaura about facing his old team, and he's like, "Hey, just you watch," really intense. Today, much more subdued. Hey, this is another game. We got to do our thing and execute. Can't make more of it. And Jed Fish said the same thing yesterday. So I think they know that they've got to keep him calm and settle down. And the one thing that he can do better is take care of the football because he was making the right decisions on Saturday night.
Yeah, a couple of real quick stats about Jaden DeLaura. I won't get too far into the weeds because I know it can be a little bit boring, but he's 6th in passing yards right now in the country, 6th in passing yards per game in the country. He's 13th in passing touchdowns with 24. And this is interesting, Jason, of all the players, whether it be running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks in the nation, he's 11th in total offense with 325.7 yards per game. He accounts for 326 yards a game. Yeah. That's a he's in rarefied company when it comes to U of A quarterbacks right now.
Yeah, and even with a little improvement in there that can be done, they've left some plays on the field. They've even said that. We've seen that watching the game. So yes, there's so much more improved on offense, and especially the quarterback and wide receiver position from a year ago. But now the question is, okay, how protected is he going to be? Jordan Morgan's out for the season. The starting left tackle from Marana, who's an NFL draft prospect. Sam Lange, I believe is his name, is the backup who's going to play. He played very well against UCLA. He's going to have to play well against Washington State here this week as well.
Yeah, and Washington State, in some ways, they may be more a formidable defense than UCLA. UCLA, if they have a little bit of weakness, it's some of their defensive back play. It's maybe consistency on defense. UCLA's kind of built a little bit like Arizona. They have more talent than Arizona, but that talent doesn't always win football games.
We said 5 weeks ago, or at least I said, of these 5 games, I just want one win, right? Yeah. Because they were 3-2. They were going to play 5 straight ranked teams, although that week, I believe it was Washington who lost and wasn't going to be ranked. So it ended up being Washington and then 4 ranked teams. Yes. If I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Okay. And Washington moved back into the rankings anyway. Okay. But yes.
So we can call them a ranked team, right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get one win in that really tough part of the schedule. The first part of the schedule wasn't easy, but it wasn't what the middle part was, right? San Diego State and North Dakota State are not the typical early season games that you see them play. Usually there's a very winnable game in there, right? So they come out of that 3, and then they play Colorado, California. So they come out of that 3-2. And I just wanted one win in the next 5 to set up this scenario that we see here of a 4-6 team coming home with 2 winnable games with the 2 storylines, DeLaura against his old team, and then ASU, who they haven't beaten since 2016, to come in with that situation. Yeah. And that sets up as so much more of an exciting final part of the season for this team, something to play for in late November than what they've had in the past. So, what, in year 2, or as Jed Fish calls this, year 1, because last year he says it was year 0, that's improvement, based upon where they are. And already with 4 wins, Las Vegas had them at 2.5 or 3 going into the year. They've got 4 with a chance for 7. I mean, going into that. And I think that, that is improvement for this program.
Right. And while we're talking about that 5-game start, I just want to throw this out here. My own feelings about this, having watched all those top teams in the Pac-12 right now. We saw several of them in person. We saw several of them. You and I watched all these games, saw them on television. I still think while Oregon stumbled against Washington, Oregon's the best team I've seen this year. Washington looks very good as well. USC obviously very good. I thought Utah was exceptional. They may be as good as Oregon, if not better. And I thought of all those five, UCLA was the least impressive of all those. And not just because Arizona won, it just doesn't seem like that Chip Kelly's got maybe the quite as good athletes, and certainly doesn't have them playing as well right now as I saw Oregon play and I saw Utah play.
Yeah, interesting exchange at the end of the game. Actually, it was in yesterday's news conference. At the end of the game, actually, Chip Kelly was asked or said, "Hey, we haven't seen a quarterback like Jayden de Laura all season long." And so then Jedd Fisch was asked about that during yesterday's news conference. Hey, what did you think of Chip Kelly's comment that they hadn't seen a quarterback like Jayden de Laura all season long? And Jedd Fisch, I thought he was going to say, "Well, that's a compliment to Jayden de Laura. He's playing really well." Instead, Jedd Fisch threw a little zinger. Jedd Fisch said, "Well, I think they see a quarterback like that every week in practice with DTR."
That's right.
Dorian Thompson-Robinson,
Right.
which
Yeah.
was kind of interesting. There's something not right between those two, Chip Kelly and Jedd Fisch. I know you're not the biggest Chip Kelly fan in the world.
Not at all. Not at all.
but,
He just has always rubbed me the wrong way. Probably does Jedd Fisch the same as
Yeah.
well. And,
Yeah.
don't forget, Jedd Fisch, was an interim coach at UCLA and probably thought maybe he could potentially have gotten that job there. So maybe, not saying that's why he doesn't like Chip Kelly. It's just there's a little bad blood there with him in UCLA. And
Yeah,
then
the way Chip Kelly took over, was
Yep.
Jedd Fisch asked to be
Yep.
on the staff, or was asked anything, or whatever. Something went down in that whole transformation, in that change. I remember last year there was some kind of there was kind of some exchange there. And Jedd Fisch is usually more the type of guy to make friends than anything else. So
That's right. That's why he's gotten to where he's gotten, Jason.
That's right.
Because he's
So the
gotten
fact
so
that
many
he would have
friends in
any kind of
football. Yeah.
riff with any other coach, to
That's
me,
right.
is a little bit interesting, because he's not a confrontational guy. He's not the type of guy in a news conference where if you called him Jed, he's going to say, "Call me Coach Fish."
Yes.
He's not like that. So that's kind of interesting that he would have that with anybody. So it sets up a great Saturday here, noon game, U of A football against Washington State. All right, so Pat, we talk about the basketball team here. By the way, Jason Barr, Pat Parris on the Huddle, KGUN 9 streaming sports talk show. You can chime in with a comment if you'd like. We're happy to read it, answer a question. Basketball team, 2-0 against two not so great opponents. But you know what, Pat? What I look for in these games is not whether they're going to win, because obviously they're going to beat these teams. And these are 3 tune-up games ahead of the Maui Invitational. They play Utah State on Thursday. Utah Tech, I think it is, on Thursday. What I'm looking for is the eye test. Do they pass the eye test? Are they struggling a little bit with these teams, or are they running them out of the gym? And they're running them out of the gym the same way they were at this time last year.
Well, the answer is yes. I think they're passing the eye test. I think
Yeah.
it's a little bit different because you don't have the marquee player in Ben Mathurin. You're waiting to see if Adama Ball can continue to progress and elevate his game as much as we saw Christian Coloco. But at this point last year, we were just wondering, is this team good enough to make the tournament? And we thought maybe, we thought probably, 21 wins. I think we both said this team looks like they've got an opportunity to grow into being a Pac-12 title contender again. It's early. They've got a long way to go. The big key to me is those turnovers. They're fourth in the nation in scoring. They're first in field goal percentage, helped out a lot by that first game, of course, when they broke the record. But they're 345th out of about 355 Division I basketball teams in turnover margin at 21.5 turnovers per game. That'll obviously get a lot better. But I know it's a style thing, and they're pushing it. The other teams are trying to reach in and slap. There were a lot of fouls in both games. I get it. So that's one area that they can, there's always teachable moments. There's always things that a guy like Tommy Lloyd's going to want to teach these guys. That's an easy one to teach.
Yeah, and the team might be a little deeper than maybe some had thought. Because they've got Cedric Henderson Jr., who's starting, and then you got 2 other guards. Adama Ball needs to play, and Kylan Boswell, he looks like he can play as well. I tell you what, he does not look like a 17-year-old. He looks closer to 27 than he does 17.
Exactly.
Based on appearance and his game his game as well. So somebody's going to lose out on a few minutes when Courtney Ramey comes back, because I assume Ramey's going to, go into the starting lineup for the Maui Invitational. But maybe he doesn't. Maybe he starts Cedric Henderson Jr., but who does a lot, but not a big scorer. And so, and then it was about Adama Ball and Pella Larson stepping into starting roles is much different than coming off the bench. And they've done well. And Azuolas Tubelis looks like he's shaking off that bad March madness. And as far as Kirk Creasy, he just has to be, a little bit more consistent and cut down on the turnovers, because that's where they're going to come from.
Umar Ballo, we got to talk about him. That's the guy that has some room for growth. They're gonna, let's see what happens when things get a little bit more even as far as size goes with their opponents and things like that. I think that'll be a true test. But
he was manhandling some of those smaller players.
Exactly. But you know what? I fully expect him to be up for the challenge. We saw at times he was when he was needed, and they paid. Couple of times, remember Tommy was playing 2 7-footers. You called them the Twin Towers, and he liked that look. We'll see. You got Henry Vasar. You can kind of do similar things with those guys, and that really creates, even for teams that are bigger than the teams they played so far, that'll create some significant matchup problems for them. So I'm really looking forward to this building, and that's probably the great part about this team right now, is you can build up the schedule and to just see them kind of become better and better. And as you said, the team seems to be pretty deep. We'll get to see a lot of guys until we get more towards Pac-12 play.
I mentioned the depth in the backcourt, but then, as you said, there's Henry Vasar. There's Dylan Anderson, the Arizona Gatorade Player of the Year. In the front court, he looks like he's got like a 1970s style
he does.
Going with his. I think he's got a mustache or something.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. So
I like it.
So they've got some. So they've got some depth, and so they'll run over their opponent Thursday, and then we'll see what they have in the Maui Invitational. We'll just take a little cautious optimism, and what you really want to see too sometime during the season is an opponent like Houston was in the NCAA tournament.
I was just going to say the same thing.
You need a little feel for that, so that when you face that again, you have a better feel, because Tommy Lloyd really felt like, hey, if they'd played them, a best of 7 series or something like that, they would have won. But that's not the way it works in such a one short 40-minute game.
Yeah, and I had a conversation before the first game tipped off. Ryan Hansen, who we've had on the show, is the color commentator for radio, and we talked about that. We talked about how Tommy Lloyd now is, at parts of practice, they get out the little handheld football pads, and they kind of bang guys as they're going through. They're trying to get them tougher, and it's hard to simulate. And the real issue just basically comes down to this, Jason. When you play in the Big 12, especially when you play in the Big 10, you play in the ACC, it's a different brand of basketball. Houston experiences it. They're going to be a part of the Big 12. We don't see that in the Pac-12 very often. We don't see, it's not called the same. It hasn't been called this way for decades, the way it's called in the Big 10 or the Big 12 or the ACC. And it's just a different way of playing. It's kind of that West Coast loose run and gun style that doesn't necessarily translate to that banging bodies and dealing with a lot of contact. And you wish you could see a little bit more of that as you get towards the tournament, because that's what's going to separate this U of A team from maybe last year's or in previous decade, where they haven't been able to bang. They've lost to Big 12 team or Big 10 teams in Wisconsin. They're going to run into those teams when we get to the tournament. That's way off. It's in March, but you got to get him ready somehow. And he's trying with this stuff he's doing in practice right now.
Yeah, I think they'll be more aware based on last year's experience for sure. So yeah,
Gonzaga's run into that too. You know what I mean? They've had teams that probably could have won a national championship, and they haven't. So yeah, it's what happens on the West Coast, unfortunately.
So I'm feeling good about both teams based on what we're seeing from the eye test for Arizona basketball. Obviously, how much better can you do than when you broke the program record for field goal percentage in a game and you score 117 points? I mean, that's still a Division I opponent who had won back-to-back regular season conference titles. It's not like that was a Division II team. And same for the football team. They needed that win that changes the whole trajectory of the season. So I'm looking forward to Saturday And boy, it'd be so much fun next week. And I know Trenton Bourguet's hurt.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Maybe hopefully he can play. We're talking about the ASU quarterback from Marana, against them in the following week. So, looking forward to Saturday and hoping we can get a win for the U of A football team to set up a Territorial Cup game with an incredible meeting.
Yeah.
For next Friday.
Yeah, you don't want to get too far ahead, but you think about that game next Friday, and you might have a lot to play for if you're the University of Arizona, and then if you're ASU, you have pride and you have keeping University of Arizona from becoming bowl eligible. So
well, they got a streak
we'll
now. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21.
I know.
It's been 5 years. They've got a little 5-year winning streak. So
yeah, they do. They have the year before the 70-7 game, I hate to say that score out loud. You remember U of A had that game. They just had to hold on to the football and don't do anything, and they lost it. And then they come back the next year and it's 70-7. It's it really turned bad at that point. So yeah, a lot of demons to exercise coming up in a week and a half.
It'll be my 11th Territorial Cup game. U of A is 2-8. 2-8. They won when Scooby Wright balled out, as he called it, in 14, and then they won the year they only ran the ball the second half in 16.
In 16.
That's it.
Well, yeah, they were going every other year for a little while, and then no. Yeah.
No, they won in 11 before I got here.
Right.
And then it was only 2-8 for U of A, and that's next week. We'll talk about that next week.
That's right.
Let's hope it's got more meaning.
Right.
All right, Pat.
Before we go, let everybody know where you're going to be tonight. This is really, really awesome.
Yeah, Pima Soccer is hosting the NJCAA soccer championships. So this is Division II of junior college, and they're the men's are the defending champions. Women's are the defending runner-up.
Yep.
They're playing at the same time, so we're going to try to do a live shot where you can kind of see both. And so it's exciting for Pima College, 8th largest community college in the country, and the soccer's defending champions. So I'm looking forward to going there, Pat. But I got to thaw out before then. It is so cold.
Yeah,
today.
You're gonna have to go outside and warm up, even though it's
right.
not all that warm today. But it's nice today. At least it's nice outside today.
All right, that and a little laptop issue. We got to get going. So I got to get downstairs and have IT look at that. So anyway, feeling good about men's basketball and women's basketball, and the Roadrunners too are all doing well. Today we just kind of focused on football and men's basketball.
Somebody has a little shot there. No, they're not a shot. They're saying you look sharper today than usual because you're going to soccer.
Well, no, I think they're talking about the suit jacket.
That's what I'm saying. You look sharp. You look even sharper than normal.
Well, thank you, Sono Fernando. Appreciate it. All right, Pat. Theme of today, feeling good about men's basketball and football going into next week.
Definitely so. Right. Can't wait.
For Pat Parris, I'm Jason Barr. This has been The Huddle on KGUD 9 streaming platforms, live Tuesday at 3 o'clock and replayed throughout the week. So we appreciate it, and we'll see you right back here at are you working next Tuesday, Pat? It's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'll be here.
Okay, we'll see. I'll be working.
Hey, it's the Territorial Cup game. We got to be here.
Yeah, I believe I'll be working that day. I got to take a day off somewhere here. But all right, for Pat Parris, I'm Jason Barr. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next week.